It's about Mogo and Nort and Earth!
Introduced as one of the top members of the Green Lantern Corps, Guy Gardner remains one of the quirkiest characters to pick up this mantle. Besides being one of the best Green Lanterns of all time, Guy Gardner has been a member of the Justice League International and even adopted a new alias as Warrior at some point in his career. Recently, he's set to make an appearance in the upcoming Superman movie, an announcement that has left fans excited and anticipating the release. So without further ado, let us jump right into his storylines and comic adventures as we tell you everything there is to know about Guy Gardner.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Who is Guy Gardner, and what's his early life like? Guy Gardner's story arc began in Baltimore, Maryland, where he lived with his parents, Roland and Peggy Gardner. While his father was quite abusive and even had an alcoholism problem, Guy tried to cope with his issues for several years before finally deciding that he could please his parents, like his elder brother, Mace. He turned to a path of delinquency and even landed in trouble with the cops again and again, which resulted in him often being admitted to juvenile hall. After he turned 18, Mace stepped in to teach him a lesson when he stole a car, and even gave him a good beating instead of turning him into the authority. He scolded him and asked him to get a real job, telling him that he had to stop bringing shame to their family name. Mace then lent him some money and warned him that this was the last time anyone would ever help him get back on his feet, and this incident left a lasting impact on Guy. He began focusing on academics, secured a job, and even paid for his college degree at the University of Michigan while pursuing a football career. Around this time, Mace was revealed to be a corrupt cop who landed in trouble with drug lords and committed suicide after an incident that disabled. While he no longer had his brother to look after him, Guy finished his degree in psychology and education and spent his early career working with prison before getting a permanent job as a gym teacher. He also made amends with his dying father and spent a week with him before the old man died due to liver failure. How did Guy Gardner become a Green Lantern? After Sector 2814's Green Lantern, Abensur, ended up crashing on Earth, he had to find a replacement for the position before he passed away. He contemplated his options and had to pick between Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner before finally bestowing the honor upon Hal Jordan, who was coincidentally closer to the site of the crash. After Jordan became Earth's first Green Lantern, Guy Gardner was next in line to replace him in case anything ever went wrong. Jordan even traveled to him to get closer to him. While they hit it off, Gardner soon ended up in a life-changing accident where he was hit by a bus, and they had to find a new Green Lantern replacement in the form of John Stewart. While Gardner spent quite some time at the hospital, he also met Kari Limbo and eventually got romantically involved with her while she used her precognitive abilities to tell him that he had a long destiny ahead. She further assured him that he would be the last one to fulfill a long-lasting tradition. Gardner did get a chance to become a Green Lantern after the Crumbler destroyed Hal Jordan's ring. While Hal embarked on a journey to fix the ring, Guy Gardner worked with Green Arrow to defeat Professor Ojo and eventually ended up in an explosion, which led everyone to believe that he had died. To make matters worse, Hal Jordan tried to get with Kari and even proposed marriage, but Guy Gardner was revealed to be alive in the Phantom Zone on the day of the wedding. When Kari held on to some hope, Hal realized that she would never marry him as long as Guy Gardner was alive, and he even traveled to the Phantom Zone to rescue. While Hal successfully brought him to Earth, the ordeal left him in a comatose vegetative state that continued for many years. What was Guy's role during Crisis on Infinite Earths? During the Crisis on Infinite Earths story arc, Guy Gardner emerged from his coma and strongly believed that he must reclaim the power ring. He was determined to become the next Green Lantern, and he learned that while Jordan had retired, John Stewart was currently serving as Earth's Green Lantern. Guy even confronted Hal Jordan and fought him on Abensur's grave, accusing him of causing him so much misery and blaming him for most of his life's problems. Around this time, the Guardians of the Universe requested an additional Green Lantern to help them deal with the crisis, and Guy Gardner finally bagged this role after Hal quit. This was marked as the first time in history that the Guardians had a difference in opinion over whether they should preserve life or make their peace with the fact that the crisis was inevitable. Gardner was then sent on a mission to destroy Anti-Monitor's birth moon, Quirk, after the latter had killed a third of the Guardians. During this mission, Gardner recruited a team of superheroes, including Throttle, Hector Hammond, Shark, Goldface, Blindside, and Sonar, and came up with a plan to attack the antimatter universe. Even though Gardner had already gone through, the rest of the team learned that destroying Quirk would only strengthen Anti-Monitor's control over the mortal universe, and they rushed to stop. This soon gave way to an apocalyptic battle for the fate of the universe, where the Green Lantern Corps, and especially John Stewart, defeated Guy Gardner and put him down before he destroyed the moon of Quirk. While the universe was saved, and Hal Jordan was reinstated as a Green Lantern in this arc's aftermath, Gardner still held a grudge against him and teamed up with Hector Hammond and Star Sapphire to reinstate himself as the last true Green Lantern. Even though he was on the verge of destroying the world in his one-track mission to destroy Quor. The Green Lantern Corps acknowledged his potential and continued to keep him as a part of the team on the condition that Apa alias would mentor him on Maltus. How did Guy Gardner evolve into a warrior? In a particular story arc, Gardner briefly visited Baltimore and learned that his father had passed away before he could confront him about all the abuse he had tolerated in his childhood. He then decided to reinvent himself and turn over a new leaf, and he adopted a new identity as the warrior. In this form, he wore an upgraded leather jacket with a logo on his chest, as well as matching gloves and boots. What happened during Rebirth and Guy's return to the Corps? Over time, Hal Jordan's Rebirth arc was highlighted by his attempt to unite the Green Lanterns in a fight against the Parallax Entity and the Spectre Force. After the Parallax possessed him, he lost control over his Voldarian powers, and even his DNA was overwritten to a point where he could no longer identify with his past self. Thankfully, Jordan's ring duplicated and gave him a new ring, which restored him as a Green Lantern in a striking explosion at the Justice League Watchtower. He then proceeded to break free from Parallax's influence, and even fought him alongside Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, Kilowog, and John Stewart. When this entity possessed the last Guardian, Ganthet, after combining their powers to defeat Parallax, they restored the energies of the central power battery of Oa, and finally reignited the flame of the Corps. While Gardner felt disconnected from the rest of the team so far, this incident brought him closer to them, even though he continued to maintain his own style. How did Guy Gardner stand out during the Sinestro Corps War? When the Sinestro Corps attacked Oa and destroyed the Lantern Station, Parallax possessed Kyle Rayner and brought him to Quor to continue sabotaging the Green Lantern. To deal with this, Guy and John Stewart fought against him but ended up getting captured, while Hal Jordan allied with the Lost Lanterns to free them from captivity. As they fought their way out of the planet, Guy single-handedly attacked Parallax and even exorcised him so that he was split into 4 parts. This legendary battle also focused on the Justice League of America and the Justice Society of America as they geared up for a full-scale assault against Sinestro. However, Guy saved the day by splitting Parallax's powers and even devised a genius plan to defeat Anti-Monitor. He suggested that they should drop Warworld on him to destroy his containment suit while Superman Prime could finish him off. Guy went against all his baser instincts to keep a calm head and strategically worked together with the other superheroes to dismantle the Sinestro leadership. In the aftermath of the battle, he even contributed to the Green Lantern's efforts to restore peace and rebuild the destroyed city. Moreover, he teamed up with Kyle Rayner and kick-started a new partnership after paying their respects at the crypts of the Green Lantern Corps. What happened to Guy during Blackest Night? Guy Gardner found himself on Earth during Tribute Day ceremonies, wherein the coast cities honored fallen heroes all around the world. He even visited Ice and reunited with them, even though they continued to date long distance for most of their story arc. At this point, Gardner believed that the Guardians' recent laws were meaningless, but he continued to wear his ring and do good in the world, despite his personal beliefs. During one of the missions to Sector Zero, Gardner and Kyle were attacked by a wave of Black Lantern rings that zeroed in on their victim's most prominent emotion. The rings identified Gardner's powerful rage, while Kyle sacrificed himself by jumping into the central power battery and destroying hundreds of Black Lanterns in the explosion. As he made this monumental sacrifice, Kyle thanked Gardner for acting as a brother figure to him, and the entire incident was far too overwhelming for him. He was soon overcome by his rage, and the Red Lantern Corps used this opportunity to induct. They handed him a ring, and soon sent him on a rampage to destroy the Black Lanterns, until Star Sapphire finally intervened and resurrected Kyle. Even though his friend had returned to life, Gardner's rage was on a whole new level. He struggled to calm himself down, even after all of the Black Lanterns were destroyed. He even begged for a mercy killing, while Mogo used his rings to weaken him and purge him of this uncontrollable rage. Even though Guy reverted to his usual self, he learned that he could only be cured by the light of a Blue Lantern, and he soon returned to Earth to fight against Necron and defeat him alongside 7 other Corps. What are Guy Gardner's powers and abilities? As the Green Lantern, Guy Gardner could access a range of biophysical capability when his Voldarian genes manifested, which included a complete biomolecular transformation. He gained a range of biological tribal marks, as well as the ability to alter his body parts to form weapons, blades, energy guns, or even switch genders. In addition to this, he could grow in size, boost his muscle mass, and even create a whole range of weapons or armor to defeat specific opponents. As the Green Lantern, Gardner gained superhuman strength, speed, stamina, agility, and reflexes in addition to energy absorption powers. He could absorb and redirect energy attacks that were targeted at, and even adapt his physiology to generate new organs, or transform existing organs into weapons or armor to deflect incoming attacks. For example, he had managed to adjust his physiology to survive harsh environments, such as deep space or hostile alien environments. In addition to this, he had impressive control over his regenerative ability, which enabled him to replace his organs in the event of severe injury. How strong is Guy Gardner's willpower and combat skill? Guy Gardner's indomitable willpower made him a true force of nature, as his sheer determination to emerge successful motivated him in all his missions. In addition to this, he was excellent at hand-to-hand combat, and his Green Lantern ring also overflowed with raw willpower that further enhanced his existing powers. What are Guy Gardner's weaknesses? Unfortunately, Guy Gardner's major weakness lay in the instability of his Vuldarian power, as they were restricted by time. After spending extended periods of time in his hybrid form, Gardner needed to rest for at least an entire day in order to regain his stamina and undergo the transformation process once again. Guy Gardner in Superman 2025 Explored. Fans were quite surprised to catch a glimpse of Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner in the upcoming Superman film's trailer, but the brief appearance was more than enough to hint at his magnificent role in the film. Directed by James Gunn, the 2025 DCU Superman is all set to usher in a new era, and it marks Nathan Fillion's live-action debut as Green Lantern. Even though he barely had a few seconds of screen time, it was more than enough to establish that the film is all set to introduce him in all his glory. Gardner is known as a loud, abrasive, and somewhat impulsive character, and these complexities seem to translate to the big screen. From what we can grasp from the trailer, he's introduced as a part of a superhero team who works alongside Superman and potentially attempts to recruit him, while the Man of Steel tries to win over the U.S. government's trust. While it is suggested that Gardner joined the Justice League International, only time will clear up these details. And so far, we've only caught a glimpse of him flicking his wrist and showcasing his powers for a split second. In the trailer, Gardner flicks his wrist to summon a surge of energy that slams him into an enemy with comedic force, thereby outlining Gardner's tendency to use his powers in bold, over-the-top ways. He's known for resorting to creative, brash ways, as opposed to other Green Lanterns, and the trailer also featured him in his iconic bowl haircut, which is just one of the many smaller details that confirms that the film is committed to depicting him in his original form. Nathan Fillion also does a fantastic job of depicting Gardner in all of his glory, with just a hint of sarcasm and self-assured behavior that characterizes him in the comic. With his comedic timing and charisma, Fillion seems to be the perfect person to balance Gardner's obnoxious nature with a touch of charm, and fans are more than excited to see him receive all this attention after he has spent years being depicted as a background comic relief character. Who's the strongest Marvel character Guy Gardner could be? Who would win in a fight between Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner? Green Lantern, War of the Green Lanterns, established that both Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner were deemed equally worthy of getting the ring. However, Hal's proximity to the ring led him to become the first Green Lantern of Earth, while Guy Gardner had to wait for a bit before the honor was passed on to him. Even though they were equally worthy, Guy Gardner could possibly beat Kyle Rayner's Green Lantern, but there's a huge chance that he might just fail against Hal Jordan. For starters, Hal Jordan is established as the strongest Green Lantern, and he also has far more experience in aerial fighting and formation tactics. He also created his ring out of sheer willpower, and we can admit that Hal Jordan is far more likely to win in a one-on-one fight against Guy Gardner. What's the story behind Guy's love life, Kari Limbo, and Ice? Guy Gardner met Kari Limbo quite early in his story arc, and the two even dated before he went into a comatose state. It was around this time that Kari got involved with Hal Jordan, but things took a turn once again when it was revealed that Guy had returned to life. While Kari did break up with Jordan to take care of Guy, she soon realized that he had a whole new personality and that she could no longer love him. Over time, Guy got involved with Ice, aka Tora Olafsdotter. Ice was a member of the Justice League International, and the two had quite an on and off relationship over the course of several story arcs. How has Guy Gardner's morality set him apart? Among other things, Guy Gardner is known for his strict moral code and general distaste towards murder and violence, even though he avoids killing at all costs. There have been situations where he had to make tough calls for the greater good. In one such situation, Von Dack ordered him to assassinate their targets, and he went through quite a lot of internal conflict before declaring that he could not kill someone so easily. He justified his decision by stating that claiming someone's life was the easy way out and that he would rather punish them in other ways. In another situation, Guy had no other option but to kill the Sinestro around to defend himself at the end of the Sinestro Corps War, but even then, he showed great restraint and hesitated to commit mass murder. Thankfully, he was saved by the bell when a wave of lanterns came crashing down and saved him the trouble of killing the Sinestro. When the Alpha Lantern Corps carried out several executions during the Emerald Eclipse, Gardner was the loudest in his protests against such unnecessary killing. He even pointed out that it went against their ideals to kill unarmed people in cold blood without putting them on trial first. However, this doesn't mean that he had never killed before. In fact, he was once forced to kill Duel Eckenham in the line of duty after he tried to kill Gardner's friends. Despite all this, Gardner maintained a strict sense of morality, and he had a code of honor that prevented him from picking on the weak and unarmed. He also actively spoke out against nuclear warfare, as he believed that any form of combat should be man on man. How does Guy Gardner's personality affect his reputation? Gardner's refusal to give up in any situation, paired with his willpower, contributed towards making him one of the greatest warriors in the Green Lantern Corps, as well as the universe at large. While some superheroes considered him to be obnoxious, he refused to let their criticism affect and continued to do the right thing in his opinion. While he often came across as a wild card due to his unpredictable behavior and unwillingness to follow strict rules, his determination to make the world a better place made him one of the most respected superheroes in the universe. What gear and rings has Guy Gardner used over time? Well, Guy Gardner is most famously known for using his Green Lantern power battery and Green Lantern ring. He had picked up some other weapons and gadgets over the course of his story arc. The Green Lantern ring granted him powers such as force field generation, energy projection, and flight. Additionally, he had formerly wielded the Red Lantern ring, the Star Sapphire ring, as well as the quirkiest power ring. Marvelous verdict. And with that, we've explored Guy Gardner's overall story arc, as well as his powers, equipment, and upcoming appearance in the live-action Superman. There's no doubt that he's one of the most intriguing and charming characters in the extended DC universe, and we can't wait to watch him on the big screen soon. We hope you enjoyed exploring his origins and unique powers with us, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.